Superman is written and directed by James Gunn and is the first film in the newly rebooted DC universe. In this film, Superman goes on a journey to reconcile his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing as Clark Kent. That was a very vague plot description, but I think it's best you go into Superman knowing as little as possible, and you just let the film take you on its journey. Superman was my #1 most anticipated film of 2025. DC is in desperate need of something different. Not everything in the DC EU was a massive failure, but the DC EU as a whole just didn't really work. The idea of James Gunn and Peter Safran coming in to shepherd this new era of DC, and Superman is the first film they're doing. And the fact that James Gunn is the one writing and directing this film as well. The first Guardians of the Galaxy is my favourite MCU movie, and the Suicide Squad was so much fun as well. The marketing has been amazing. That teaser trailer especially is one of the greatest trailers I've ever seen in my life. So I was extremely excited for Superman. Probably to the point where I was setting myself up for disappointment. No matter how well you write this film, if you don't cast Superman right, then it's not going to work. But James Gunn found the perfect guy in David Corenswet. David Corenswet is the perfect Superman. He captures the spirit, he captures the warmth, and he captures the integrity of him. And he is just such an easy guy to root for. Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane is equally brilliant. This is quite a tough Lois Lane. She has a quirky side, but she can also be cold. And that also makes for such an interesting dynamic between Superman and Lois Lane. The chemistry between David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan is off the charts. They are so convincing. In every scene, you believe these two characters are together, and that these two characters are meant for each other as well. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor is uncompromising. This is a character who will stop at nothing, and Nicholas Hoult just goes all in, and I loved his Lex Luthor. James Gunn also does such an incredible job with writing these characters. Superman as a character feels layered, but it is so easy to root for him because he feels his main purpose in this world is to bring some good and to do some good. And when that feeling is questioned, you really feel for the guy. This is absolutely no shade to Henry Cavill. This is more to do with the writing of his Superman. But in the opening scene of this Superman movie alone, Superman as a character feels more human than he ever did in his previous iteration. And that is just the best way to describe this Superman. Human. I also really appreciate how James Gunn writes Lex Luthor, because while I love when movies give us layered and complicated villains, James Gunn has just gone, no, Lex Luthor is a terrible person. He's not just some mustache twirling guy, he just does not have morals. So Superman and Lex Luthor really do feel like they're in a fight between good and evil, and I loved that. My main worry going into this film is that there are a lot of other side characters. Hawk Girl, Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, and I was worried that the film would feel overstuffed or that Superman wouldn't feel like the main focus. But thankfully, James Gunn uses these characters really wisely. They're absolutely an integral part to this story, but they're also an integral part to Superman's journey. One thing James Gunn really had to get right here was the tone, because he does have a very specific style of filmmaking, which you obviously don't want to erase, but also you don't want to make Guardians of the Galaxy in the DCU. And I think he strikes the balance perfectly between comedy, drama, action. In typical James Gunn fashion, this is a very funny movie. I laughed throughout the entire thing, but the comedy never compromises the drama. When the dramatic moments are happening, they feel dramatic and they're not interrupted by a joke, and James Gunn knows when to do what. Let's talk about the action and just the style of this movie in general. This is perhaps the most comic book movie ever made. Superman really leads into the fantastical. There are mythical creatures, there are buildings that come out of the ground. This is a really visually vibrant film, and this film is not afraid to embrace its roots. In fact, it's proud to be a comic book movie. The action is incredibly exciting, especially the flying scenes. It really does make you feel that you're flying with Superman. My only real issue with the movie is that while I love the movie is so stylistic, it can just take a bit of getting used to. Because again, the film is not hiding anything or leaving anything off the table. So it can feel a bit like, oh, okay, we're in it. Overall, I am so glad to say Superman did not let me down. It's the movie DC needs, but it's also the movie the world needs, because it's just full of so much hope and optimism, and I cannot wait to see where the DCU goes from here. I'm going to give Superman an A. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. You guys are awesome. Blu-ray Billy, logging off.